It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth, financial literacy educator and speaker, entrepreneur, and chairman of the board of A Bank Information. Take charge of your financial future with Your Personal Bank. Now here's Ference Toth.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. Well, we have a lot of stuff to cover, and I know this is during the Christmas season for a lot of people, or New Year's. Of course, if you're listening, it could be later if you're listening to the Your Personal Bank Show, or listening to the show on the yourpersonalbank.com, of course. But I just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I hope everybody's having a great holiday season and enjoying this joyous period for most people. Not everyone, I get it. But I hope you're recharging your batteries, enjoying time with your loved ones. I know I am. So, you know, it's one of those things, like I said, it's a very valuable time of the year, very special time of the year. And if you listened to the show I did last week, I really got quite personal about sharing about why Christmas was so important to me. Again, losing my dad, and that was a time where the entire family got together, and it was really about the only time of the year, for the most part, that I felt that it was part of a family. You know, the family was kind of complete, if you know what I'm saying, because we were always missing someone. You know, I lost my dad when I was 7 years old, so in an accident. So it was a very impactful, obviously, in my life. And so Christmas with the music, the songs, the trains, the trees, the lights, the presents, just mostly, but just the time that I got to spend with family evokes very special memories in my heart, and something I'll always treasure. So again, this was a very, very important time of year for me, and it elicits very strong emotions, traditions. I love it all. And you know, there's a lot of people out there like that, and I get it, not everybody. But, you know, if Christmas, the Christmas season is not your cup of tea, or you, for whatever reason, I do hope, I genuinely hope and pray that you find some peace and some joy in this time of the year. I really do. I genuinely mean that. And for those of us who have that, or have those memories and traditions, hold on to them. Don't let them go. Don't let political correctness or wokeness, or anyone or anything for that matter, take this away. Take this special time away from you, or these special memories that so many of us have. Like I said, so many of us do have those family memories and of growing up and things like that. So don't let anyone take that away from you. Hold on to it. Cherish it. And don't apologize. Don't be ashamed or shy about it. I wish everybody Merry Christmas. And again, I've said this many, many times. Whether it's a client, a prospect, somebody I meet, somebody at the grocery store, it doesn't matter. I say Merry Christmas. And it's so funny, about, 80% of the time, I would say, the folks respond in kind with a Merry Christmas back to me. And by the way, it's not just, I live in Arizona. You would think, no, I have clients all over the country. I say that to them because I meet folks now, of course, online, Zoom meetings and stuff like that frequently. I've done this for years, by the way, because of traveling and speaking and such. But it doesn't seem to matter where somebody lives. They have, like I said, about the vast majority, in my experience, my unscientific poll or experience, we'll put it that way, probably 80% of the people that I encounter have similar feelings that are strong about traditions and all that. So, again, for those of you that not that way, we don't mean it any way negative. But at the same time, don't try to rain on our parade. Don't try to take away those traditions and memories that are so important and valuable to me and that I cherish, just like so many others do. And again, I hope you, somehow, if you don't have those, somehow, some way, create them in your life on your own, create with your family, your loved ones, whatever. I genuinely hope that is the case for you. Now, before I forget, because I tend to do that, I need to share. I'm going to be speaking at an event coming up, actually. It's on Thursday, January 13th at the Renaissance Phoenix Downtown Hotel. This is Business Minds Unite. This is actually the first speaking engagement I'll be doing. It's been 2 years. I spoke to a group in Chicago 2 years ago, actually right before COVID basically hit, in January of 2020. And then, of course, all the speaking engagements disappeared because of the COVID stuff. So this will be my first in-person speaking engagement in 2 years. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be a one-day event. There's going to be a bunch of different speakers, high net worth individuals. This is going to be a fun event. And basically, again, it's for people to learn the skills they need to build their business with confidence. So if you go to businessmindsunite.com, I really encourage you to go there, check it out, find out more information, get tickets. And if you use promo code YPB, that's for your personal bank, it's YPB, you'll get 75% off tickets. So I highly encourage you to do that. It's going to be a fun event, very, very impactful, and I'd love to meet you. So I'd love to meet anybody who's listening that would like to attend an event like this and find it very uplifting and encouraging. I think it'll be a great way to start the year. If you have a business, if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, I think this will be a super valuable event for you to attend and gain some mentorship. And again, love to meet you. So again, it's businessmindsunite.com. Check it out. It's on Thursday, January 13th at the Renaissance Phoenix Downtown Hotel. It's an all-one-day event, so check it out. So things to talk about today. Oh, there's plenty. There just always is plenty because our current administration just can't seem to stop doing things, right? So let me start off with what I consider a funny one. So let's start off with a little bit of lighthearted humor. I think, frankly, I think it's almost hilarious. But the White House memo went out recently. It said, you're better off now. Their point was they're saying, hey, we're better off after 1 year of President Biden than when President Trump left office. Personally, I think that's laughable. And I think a lot of people, of course, looking at the polls today, kind of say that. They're trying to point out that, how more people are vaccinated. Well, of course they are. The vaccines didn't even exist until like the last month, if that, of office that Trump was in office. And by the way, if anything, Biden should thank Trump for accelerating and making sure the vaccines actually became available as quick as they were. Okay. Then the other thing was when Biden took office, only 46% of schools were open. Now 99% of schools are open. Well, of course they are because the blue states shut them down. Okay. And, they finally have opened them up. They're trying to take credit for it. It's like there's a parade going down and they're trying to figure out how to jump in front of it, right? And then take credit for, creating the parade, So it's just laughable. I mean, when you think about it, you're better off now. Well, let's check off a few things. And by the way, being generous, it is the Christmas season. It is the holiday season. And, I want to be generous here. I'm trying to genuinely think of one thing that I think this administration has done or is responsible for, whatever, directly or indirectly, that has improved Americans' lives, the average American's life. And I've given it some serious thought. I genuinely, and I cannot think of one. And if there was one, I'd give them credit. If you've listened to the show for a while, if somebody's doing something, I give them credit for it. And if they're not, I call them on it. And I don't care what their political affiliation is or who they are or where they come from or any of those things. It doesn't matter. Okay? I can't think of one thing. I mean, inflation? Definitely not. Better. Way worse. How's energy prices and things like that. But we were self-sufficient. First time we were self-sufficient in something like 70 years as a country. For energy, we were energy independent. Well, we're not anymore. Well, so obviously that's worse. Afghanistan was going way better than it is now. So obviously that's worse. Immigration, illegal immigration, I should say, the border was much, much more in control a year ago than it is now. It's pretty much open. As you go, you tick on, there's many, many other things. We could tick off the mask mandates, vaccine mandates, those didn't exist. It's worse, not better. And the polls have shown that. If you ask most Americans, they predict that next year is probably going to be worse than last year. And that's a sad state of affairs. As Americans, as a country, as people, we have had a long history of being, we're pretty optimistic folks. We're pretty upbeat. And there's only a few times in a history when we've been downtrodden, if you know what I'm trying to say. Probably one of the most recent ones was 9/11. For a short time, we were definitely, it was a sucker punch. And being attacked, the Twin Towers going down and all that, a terrorist attack. People were down, but then they were also determined because because what was the response of leadership, President Bush at the time? Well, didn't take very long. Matter of, I think, days, maybe a week or two, where he basically, if you remember, he got on the bullhorn. He was with the firefighters. They were still searching for people in the rubble of the Twin Towers. And it was an impromptu thing. But this is what I'm talking about. This is leadership. This is leading. This is inspiring people, inspiring leadership. This is what's sorely lacking right now. Remember the thing he said? He says, they will hear from us. The people that did this, in fact, at that time, we weren't entirely sure who had done it yet to us, really. We sort of kind of knew, but those that did it will hear from us. That was a rallying cry. That was, you know what? We're going to get them. We're going to get them back. And that's coming back from a tragedy. And that's inspiring. That's encouraging, okay? That's the kind of thing that's sorely, sorely lacking. So when we get things like, when Biden, the other day said, the unvaccinated are going to be facing a winter of disease and death. I mean, really, that's your message? When Bush, and I wasn't a huge fan of Bush, don't get me wrong, but look at the difference in leadership there. Well, they'll hear from us. We got attacked. They'll hear from us. We're going to fight back. We're going to recover from this. We're going to come back better, stronger. Reagan was that way. He was a very inspiring individual. Whether you liked his policies or politics or not, he was an uplifting and inspiring person, which was a dramatic, contrast to Carter, who was basically, I shared the story not too long ago on the previous shows, his Malay speech he was famous for, when he was basically telling people to expect less, use less energy, downplay or down, reduce your expectations, and blamed Americans for using too much energy. And then Reagan came along and said, hey, we can be better, we can be greater, we can accomplish great things. And FDR was that way. As famously said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. See, that's leadership. Okay? Kennedy. We don't do these things because they're easy, but we do them because they're hard. I'm talking about going to the moon in 10 years, okay? Those are presidents that expressed leadership, inspirational leadership. And we have the complete opposite right now. You wonder why people are down and frustrated or not happy with it's not just the policies, as bad as those are, but it's also the lack of inspiring leadership. It's this partisan fear-mongering. During Christmas, it doesn't go over well. Stay tuned in the next segment. We're going to talk about more of these things going forward in the next year. So I've got some great stuff, so stay tuned.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. And, well, I guess what I was finishing off on the last segment, I was talking about leadership. And actually, this is one of the things we're going to be discussing. I'll be talking about some of this stuff, actually, at the Business Minds Unite event on January 13th, Thursday, January 13th, at the Renaissance Phoenix Downtown Hotel. Go to businessmindsunite.com for more information and tickets, and put in promo code YPB for Your Personal Bank, YPB for 75% off tickets. So, one-day event. I really encourage you to check it out. I'll be there. Love to meet you there. It'll be awesome. But as I was saying in the last segment, it's this lack of inspirational leadership that I think is as big a problem as any. I mean, the policies are truly, and for the most part, horrendous for the average American. It's anti-American, if you will. America last, I've heard that. I'm a first-generation legal immigrant, and I was talking to several of my clients are first-generation or immigrants themselves. I was actually talking to a client yesterday. She's from Russia. And she survived, as she put it, went through the 1990s high inflation problems and all the economic issues that they had in Russia, right? And she eventually got out of the country, came here. She's a U.S. citizen. She did it the right way. And she's doing well. And she lives in California, L.A., absolutely hates what's going on. Absolutely, she thinks it's horrendous. She can't believe people are actually listening to this, as she put it, this crap. And, because she lived it. She saw it before. She saw where it led. And, the horrendous inflation that Russia went through that period, and all kinds of unrest, civil unrest, and all the problems. We're not immune to all that stuff, folks. And I've said this often, we've got some big things coming up next year. 2022 is going to be a big year. And I'm getting more and more excited about it because I think, we're in a war. This is a war of ideas, and we're going to battle in 2022. So enjoy the holidays. Rest up, man. I am. Recharge your batteries. Enjoy your loved ones. Do those things because, folks, it'll be time to put on the battle gear soon and go to war and for the soul of our country. And take our country back. And I believe that's going to happen. I believe it'll be a landslide, tremendous opportunity, generational opportunity, if you will, to really change this country back in the direction that the average American wants it to be. Limited government staying out of our lives, not doing they're not doing their job. If you read the Constitution, the things that they're supposed to do, they're not doing, like protecting against foreign enemies, protecting our borders, things like that. They're not doing those things yet. They're in our faces and harassing us about things that they have no business being in. They shouldn't be on our lives. And I'll use a couple examples. A lot of local officials around the country are advising masks at home and canceling gatherings and shunning the unvaxxed and all these kind of things. They have no business in that world, okay? It's none of their business. But what's encouraging is we're also at the same time seeing record travel numbers, pre-COVID type numbers. So in other words, people are not listening. They've had enough's enough. They've had it. They're given, when Biden's saying a winter of disease and death for the unvaccinated, they're putting up their proverbial middle finger and saying, I ain't listening. I'm done with you. What's happened is our current administration, with the health officials, Biden himself, and all those folks, they've become like this noisy gong. They have one note. There's no creativity. There's no unique ideas or problem solving. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And it's all revolved around them getting more control and them getting more power over our lives, right? And it's just this clanging gong, one note. I'm a musician. I've played in all kinds of different groups, jazz groups. So I've done everything from solos to jazz groups to full-blown orchestras. I play trombone, bass trombone, actually. And, when you create a group like that, no matter what the type of music, I've played in rock bands. I've played in all kinds of stuff. One of my favorite bands growing up was Chicago. Loved the rock music with the horn line stuff. I just love doing that stuff. Earth, Wind, and Fire was another one of my favorite groups. Still is today. And there's many others. I kind of like all kinds of music, just about. And you can create some beautiful music and be creative and do all kinds of beautiful, amazing things. And then if you're listening to a clanging gong, okay, you can have a gong play in an orchestra and maybe finish a song, right? Finish a orchestra piece. But imagine just sitting there listening to just the gong, clanging away one note repeatedly over and over and over again for an hour or two. Like for a full, let's say an entire concert, was nothing but this clanging gong. And that's what they're becoming. And then when you don't agree with them, or you don't want to listen to them, or you're not woke enough or politically correct enough or any of that kind of stuff, what do? They go to their one note. They call you a racist or a bigot or a homophobe or whatever. It's the same clanging gong. And this, though, in a way, is a good thing. Because these people who want to fundamentally change our country have been working on this for decades. They're adamant about this. They're a small minority, folks. That's what I want you to understand. Small minority. but they're active, and unfortunately, they basically have taken over the soul of the Democratic Party, which is really sad because you can't convince me that the majority of Democrats even are this radical, this leftist, okay? But they got them like scared, and they're listening to him. And Biden ran as a moderate, and he's gone way left, far more left than anybody thought he would. Even the progressives were surprised how left he's gone. It's spineless, folks. Finally, we're seeing a little bit of spine from Joe Manchin, Democrat. Again, I give credit where it's due, where he said no to Build Back Better. And I'm hoping he sticks with that. We'll see going into the new year and all. But, that's a Christmas present, folks. That's something to be grateful about, because they could easily just spend another, it's not $1.7 trillion. The Congressional Budget Office came out and said it's $4 or $5 trillion, actually. So their government's not spending another $4 or $5 trillion, at least at this point. And on top of all the other spending, which would have created more inflation, more debt, more problems, those are good things. So like I said, it's like damage control. I wish I'd spent a lot less, of course, but hey, I'll take what I can get at this point until the midterms, right? My point is the fact that they've just let them just take over. Even though you can't convince me they agree with all this stuff. They didn't, not that long ago, defund the police and all this other stuff. Give me a break. I'm just not politically correct, okay? And I'm openly admit it. What's interesting, another fun thing, I said the funny stuff. Here's one other funny thing. I guess there's a couple of representatives, Democrat representatives that were big on defund the police and all, that have now been robbed, carjacked at gunpoint. And these are ladies in most cases. You got to think their security's been violated. They might just start. This is the kind of stuff that might cause them to start rethinking. That's my hope. And I think that may just happen. Stay tuned in the next segment. We're going to talk about some more of these things. And again, going forward into the next year and all this stuff. So exciting stuff. Stay tuned.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to Your Personal Bank Show. I've shared some of the more humorous things and some Christmas presents that our government has given us. Like I said, Biden's White House saying that we're better off. But that's funny. They believe it. It's not funny to them, but I think most Americans, most voters are smarter than that. They can see through it. Come on. And the polls show that. I just think it's humorous. The fact that they even have the audacity to put something out like that, it just shows you how either totally, completely in the bubble they really are, or how stupid they think we really are. I mean, one or the other. But either way, it doesn't matter. It's probably some of both. They'll get woken up. I'm confident in that. I'm confident in the American people. How's that? We're smarter than them. Anyway, another, I guess, humorous one. I mean, I don't wish this on anyone, but I guess two of the Congress people, ladies in both cases, thankfully these are both big supporters of defund the police, right? And that kind of thing. Huge supporters of that. Even co-sponsored bills and all kinds of stuff. Apparently, this past week or so, have been carjacked at gunpoint. Now, thankfully, nobody was hurt or anything. And again, I don't wish crime on anyone, but man, talk about karma. And, I don't know about you. I think about my wife, for example, and ladies in general. Okay, I know I'm generalizing here, but guys and gals, we're wired differently. Okay, that's how God made us. All right, nobody can. I know they try to say it's not. Whatever. That's the way we're built. Okay, and women in general are more security focused. Okay, it's just a fact, and for lots of obvious reasons. Okay. They're not important to go into right now. When a woman gets held up at gunpoint and they steal her car, well, gosh, if that happened to me, it would impact me in a big way. But I think particularly for a female, a lady, the security aspect has got to be devastating. Okay, it's got to be massively impactful. It's gonna be interesting to see how these two ladies respond to this. Are they can actually wake up and realize that maybe, and then, by the way, in both cases, the police came and they both thanked the police and everything for what they did. So that was a good sign. We'll see how it goes. But you could see a situation where somebody like that might become what's the word I'm trying to think of? But they might convert. How's that? And they may lead the charge, so to speak, because it happened to them. It's personal now. So these are the kinds of things that, look, something will happen to cause people to wake up, and that'll be a great one. So here's some things that are not so fun that we just want to keep an eye on going forward, just so, be aware. The Treasury Department now is authorizing working with the Taliban to facilitate aid to Afghanistan. Well, that sounds really great. Of course, a lot of people are saying, hey, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. You're working with the Taliban? I mean, these people are just absolutely clueless. Okay? And the Taliban wouldn't be in control if Biden hadn't pulled out our troops, right? I think everyone knows that. And there's still Americans left over there, and that's terrible. And you never hear anything about it, hardly. Biden hadn't said a word. I mean, that's just a leadership weakness. I was talking about leadership earlier. That is as a country, I was in the military. We don't leave our people behind. That is that's a sucker punch, gut punch like you wouldn't believe, particularly anyone in the military. And the quote-unquote commander-in-chief basically caused us to leave civilians there and leave people behind. That's just gutless, folks. I'm sorry. There's no other two ways to put it. And this is a spineless, gutless, evil person that would allow that and not try to, not do anything, just not care. Now, I don't know if he doesn't care, he doesn't understand, doesn't know. I don't know which it is. But all of those are bad. We don't leave our friends, our compatriots, our folks, we don't leave our people behind. But another few things, keep in mind. The progressives are now demanding Biden act alone to implement agenda after Manchin kills the massive spending bill, the Build Back Better. So they don't care about the rules. They just want what they want, which frankly, reminds me of my daughters when they were like 2 or 3 years old. These progressives, and again, I call them regressives. They're not progressive at all. They want to regress to a lesser form of government. Really, they're regressives, but whatever. They're just a bunch of crybabies. They remind me of 2, 3, 4-year-olds who didn't get their toy. And now they cry, they want to change the rules. They want this, they want that. They just want what they want. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about the rules. They don't care about any of it. Look, and here's what it really boils down to. And this other one, this one's much more serious. And it's about the filibuster. And this is going to be, going into the new year, this is going to probably be the first big fight that's going to have to happen, again, to keep the rule of law, to keep the balance of power and the separation of powers between the different branches and all that, like the founders intended. Again, it's about the filibuster. Since I'm running up against a hard break, I'm going to have to discuss this in the next segment. So I'm going to really encourage you to stay tuned, because this will be probably the first thing we'll really need to pay attention to. So stay tuned. Stay tuned to Your Personal Bank Show, because we're going to stay on top of this, of course. So I'll see you on the other side.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. We're going to wrap this up today, but I've been sharing some, some humorous things, some things that we need to be concerned about going into the next year. Like I said, nothing urgent at the moment. We're in the Christmas season. Enjoy your time with loved ones. Rest, recuperate, recharge your batteries. Think about. I get very contemplative this time of the year. In fact, in the next show, I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned, because in the next show, I'm going to be sharing my annual Wheel of Life. I always like to do it at the beginning of the year. It's something I've shared with my sales staff and folks for over 20 years. It's very impactful in my life. I mean, it's not a new idea, but it sort of became an annual thing. I would actually have people in my staff, my sales force and stuff, actually asked me to share it, and I started doing it now on the radio, and I've had folks loving it and asked me to share it. So it's kind of an annual thing. So, I encourage you to tune in to the next show. Yeah, I'll be sharing the Wheel of Life that, like I said, has been incredibly impactful in my life. So, but the last thing I want to share that today that we need to kind of, give you a heads up on. Again, probably going to be the first major battle we're going to have to fight in the new year because, we've got to get through the next year, right? And it's damage control. So we go into, and we've had a lot of wins, okay, going forward. So this is exciting that we've had these wins. So it shows we still have power, even though we don't have the majority of the Senate for in the House, but razor thin majority. So, and we're going to election year, so the politicians are going to be listening and a little ear to the ground, a little closer even, because they're not going to want to go against what the majority of their voters in their districts want, because they do want to get reelected. Remember, Thomas Sowell said that. He's a brilliant guy who, like he said, I'm paraphrasing, but I've shared this before, but politicians have three priorities, the top two being getting elected, being reelected, and, well, everything else falls far below the top two, right? So that's most politicians. Not all of them, but most of them. But then the next big fight is about the filibuster, because Schumer and the Senate Democrats are now planning to assault the filibuster the new year because they didn't get what they wanted. So they're throwing a temper tantrum just like my 2-year-olds used to do. And we didn't get what they wanted with Build Back Worse is what it really is. It's not. Remember, Build Back Better means you got to tear down what's there. So they would literally have to tear down the system, the economic system and the government system we have in place, which has created unprecedented prosperity and peace and freedom, unlike we've seen anything in the history of mankind. They want to destroy that, replace it with something else. They think it's better. I'm sorry, I don't agree, and most people don't. Okay, most Americans don't. But anyway, they're wanting to assault and attack, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on Senator Sinema and the Manchin in particular to get rid of the filibuster so they can just have the 50-vote majority, simple majority, to shove whatever it is they want down our throats. Our system of government was never designed for a 51-49 situation where the country's divided, half pretty much shoved down the throats down what the other half vehemently doesn't want. It's a system of checks and balances. There's 3 branches of government. The Senate filibuster has been something that's been in place since the beginning of the Senate. It was supposed to be something where it's debated. Super majorities, like 60-vote majorities. It used to be 2/3, actually. They lowered it to 60-vote majority on many things because the founders wanted they felt like if the majority of Americans agreed on something, it was probably something the government and the country should do. If they didn't have a super majority, then it's probably not the best idea. And that was very, very wise. Doesn't cause so much division. You see what I'm saying? They were very wise in this point. But the Democrats don't care because the way they don't look at it this way. I heard somebody say this recently. I think this is a great analogy. The Democrats look at this like a football game. They're on one team and the Republicans are on the other team. So they have to all line up on the one side of against the other side, and they all have to work together and to win the game. And it's not about what's best for the country or even who they're representing or their districts or anything. It's about what their leadership, what the Democratic Party wants, and it's all or one, all or nothing, right? And the fact that Senator Manchin didn't agree to the Build Back Better, Build Back Worse plan. They're just roasting him. And, if you remember not too long ago, Senator Sinema, they were harassing her, chasing her in the bathroom while she was trying to go to the bathroom. Just harassment, okay, because they weren't on the team. Folks, it's not supposed to work that way. Senators, representatives, and such are voted in by the constituents of that state or district. And they're supposed to represent their state or their district. And Manchin and Sinema, particularly Manchin, are coming from a very, very conservative red state, who the vast majority do not want this socialist, big spending, big government programs. He's actually, to his credit, representing his constituents, which is, in other words, he's doing his job. Isn't that amazing? Now, I hope he sticks to it. That's my only concern. I give him credit for what he's done so far, and Sinema too, but based on history and what they've done, I feel uncomfortable trusting a Democrat to preserve and protect our freedoms and prevent runaway spending, for example, and fundamental changes of our government and system. Okay, but so far they're holding the line, and kudos to them for that. The fact we got ourselves in the position is crazy, but my point is simple: is our system was never designed for that. And they want to change it. They don't care. It's their team against our team is the way to look at it. So we got to fight back. We just don't have a choice, right? We need the majority, which I think will come this next year. And we'll be able to fight back, like I say, playing defense so far right now and then go on the offense, right? That's kind of what's going to have to happen. The fact that they're throwing such a tantrum, the fact that the progressives, basically, the regressives, the most liberal, the most Marxist, socialist, communist members of the party are basically running the show. And the rest of them that are not, for the most part, with rare exceptions like Manchin recently, are going along. So here's the thing you need to start, you really need to consider if you've voted Democrat previously, either part of the time or all the time. Because they've basically given the keys to the kingdom, the leadership is the progressives. Unless you agree with those policies, socialism, frankly, which is what they want, massive spending, huge government, which is creating lots of inflation and all kinds of other problems, open borders, all these progressive policies that they're proud of, supporting terrorist organizations like Hamas and all these other things. Unless you support those things, voting Democrat is unwise. Because if you vote Democrat, you're really supporting their efforts. Because even though the Democrat that you're voting for might be far more moderate than that, they're not doing anything to stop them. In fact, all these bills and things are going through, they're all voting for it. All, like the senators, in most cases, all 50 of them vote for it. All the 50 Democratic senators of the progressive agendas. And the administration and Biden and all are moving that way. So in essence, you're just supporting and empowering the progressives, the most liberal wing of the party. They're in control. So my hope and my prayer is that the people who are more on the moderate side might tend to vote Democrat at least some of the time or all the time, rethink that. Because if they don't believe in all that, like I said, you need to support candidates that agree with your belief system, but also what team are they on? Because in essence, that's what it's come down to, because the Democrats have forced that. And are they going to allow the far more radical folks? Well, I'll give you a perfect example. If you go, I've talked about this before on several occasions, and a great place to go to in terms of like seeing what the representatives, what their voting records are, right? And it's called libertyscore.conservativereview.com. It's their scorecard of whether they've on all their votes they've taken over the last 6 years, all the representatives, House and Senate in the U.S., and how much percentage of their votes were conservative versus liberal, and like Mark Kelly of Arizona ran as a moderate. That's what his campaign's ads were and all that, because Arizona's maybe a purple state. It's been a red state for a long time. Some people think purple. I'm not so sure. But it's definitely not a liberal state. But if you look at Mark Kelly's voting record, or because he's been there for 2 years, he took over for McCain, he has voted 100% liberal. That is not hyperbole. That is not what you're hearing from the media or from Mark Kelly himself or any of that. That's his actual voting record. So as I always say, folks, it's not what you say. What you do speaks so loudly, what you say I cannot hear. Stop listening to what people are telling and start looking at and what they're actually doing. And again, Mark Kelly is actually has the most liberal voting record in the U.S. Senate in the United States. His voting record is more liberal than Chuck Schumer of New York. Now, I'm sorry, I don't think anyone thinks that Arizona is more liberal than New York. I think that's 100% universal agreement. Yet he's voting like a New York Democrat or a California Democrat. In fact, more liberal than them. So is he representing Arizona? Not even close. He's voting. He's a loyal member of their team, of the progressive team. You see what I'm saying? So voting for him is just supporting AOC and Bernie Sanders and those folks, because that's the agenda that's going on. These are the things that we as voters need to wake up on and encourage, and that's happening. That's the encouraging part. So there's some cool stuff coming up. And by the way, I've got an interview coming up. I'm going to be airing coming up here in a couple weeks with Blake Masters, candidate for the U.S. Senate from Arizona. He's coming up strong if he wins the Republican primary. He would be running against Mark Kelly, Democrat, which is a very vital Senate seat. Both parties have pointed at as that seat being a key one, obviously, for control of the Senate going forward. And I asked Blake some very serious, tough questions. There was nothing off the table. You're going to find this to be quite an amazing interview, by the way. And in fact, we spend the entire time. I ask him about term limits and balanced budget amendment, and why we should believe in what he says, what he's going to do, and his back, all kinds of. You're going to learn about Blake, who he is, why he's running, all those things. And again, my hope is real simple. It's a very open and honest and direct interview. Nothing's held back. There's no games being played, and it'll help you get to know who he is, and if it's a candidate you think you would want to support. Because, again, how the Republican Party operates is they're neutral until the primaries. Whoever wins the primary, they support and help them run against the Democrats. So they let them fight it out, in other words. And I learned this recently, and I've come to realize that if we, as fiscally conservative people, as people who don't want to see rhinos, Republicans in name only, running and representing us, we have to get behind the candidates and help the candidates that we agree with, who are fiscally responsible and et cetera, win the primary. The Republican Party will then support them and run with them. We just got to get them over the hump of the primary. So getting involved early, primaries are in Arizona are in August, early August. Getting involved early is the key. So that's one of the things we're going to be doing going next year. But again, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. If you want to contact me for more information, toll free 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. I'll show you how to reduce taxes, offset inflation, gain more control of your money, gain positive arbitrage, all that stuff. Just reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you. Stay tuned to the Your Personal Bank Show.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guest on this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Products and riders may have limitations and may not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance. Distributions may become taxable if not managed properly. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be charges when replacing coverage. Compare when considering a replacement. Dividend rates and baseline of credit rates may change. Contact yourpersonalbank.com for current rates.